things how they are, we see things how we are, right? So the brain only perceives equal to how we're wired and how we emotionally feel. So imagine having a full-on sensory experience without your senses right now. What if your senses were heightened right now by 25%? Everything you're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling. If your senses are heightened by 25%, your awareness of everything around you is heightened. Awareness is consciousness. You can't have consciousness without energy. So the brain gets a rush of energy, and now the experience lays the tracks down in the brain. And now when we come back to our senses, we are going to perceive a broader spectrum of reality. Now our brain is wired to perceive what has always existed, but we didn't have the circuits to perceive it. And now the person's getting a broader glimpse of reality. And science says we perceive less than 1% of reality. Well, now they're getting a glimpse. The sacred is so much grander than the mundane.
Yes.
And so in a moment, a person is now no longer in the labyrinth of life. They are looking at it from a different dimension. They know where they need to go on. They're no longer asking anybody for answers. They're getting a download from the field.
Yes.
And we actually call it a download. And with that download comes a biological upgrade. There's an upgrade because all disease is a lowering of frequency according to the quantum model. It's incoherence. The body is disorderly. It's slowing down in frequency. So now, once the system switches on, and all of a sudden that person is drawing from the field, get ready because the body is going to take on a new frequency, and we see eczema disappear, we see tumors shrink, the disease can no longer exist because there's a change in the human operating system from energy, not from matter, but from energy.
From energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen people that tried every therapy and they weren't responding to anything, but they trusted because when you run out, when you run out of options,
right,
and you're left with nothing else, and it's framed in a way that you can see, that you can actually connect to. I mean, think about this. How much of your waking day do you have your attention on matter, and how much of your waking day do you have your attention on the field or energy? Most people are local in space and time, and so all of their attention is on matter. So in our work, we say, when you take your attention off your body, you become nobody. When you take your attention off all the people in your life and your identity, you become no one. You take your attention off your cell phone, your computer, your car, you're in no thing. If you take your attention off the place you're sitting, the place you need to be, you're in nowhere. If you're not thinking about the past or the future and you're in the present moment, you're in no time. And that's the moment you become pure consciousness. That's the moment you're disinvesting all of your attention and energy out of this three-dimensional reality. Now, this three-dimensional reality is real to us because we perceive it with our senses.
Yeah.
But the quantum is a realm that exists beyond the senses, and you could only experience it with your awareness. So then imagine...
It's just as real.
It's more real. So then just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So then if I said to you, pay attention to it, connect to it, become more aware of it, stay present with it, moment after moment after moment, like a radio dial, your nervous system is tuning into frequencies. Sooner or later, you're not doing it with your body. If you're back in your body, you're back in three-dimensional reality. You have to get beyond your body, your environment, and time. Now, that's the moment you're on the bridge to the quantum field. But if you're going to connect to that field, there are greater and greater levels of order and oneness. So then as you begin to connect to that information and you look for it and you tune into it, every time you feel something, your brain lays down a circuit. Why? That's what experience does. Now you're putting the circuits in place for you to perceive more of it. And if you're focusing on the divine, you just may see the divine in everybody. Our research shows that you actually don't need 40,000 hours or 40 years of meditation. We're doing it in a week. I mean, it's a formula. The formula, of course, is the different meditations that we do.
Okay.
And I now know, it's so wild because we've done so many great measurements, that in certain meditations, I can say certain words, and all 14 people that are getting their brain scanned will all go into gamma at the same time. They're conditioned. The formula is we now know how to get people into that state, and then once they're in that state, now they're accessing from the field. They're connected to something greater. And now it becomes less about changing matter. They don't change matter. That's the illusion. They just change the field. And when you change the field, it changes matter. So people are changing their beliefs on how that's done. So the formula then is getting to that point where they get beyond themselves and they're connecting to the consciousness of everybody, of everyone, of everything, of everywhere, of every time. That is the oneness field. That is the field. That's where all the information exists. Now, there's a caveat to this, because we've seen this so many times, because when you reach that moment, all the things that you thought you wanted, you no longer want, because you feel like you have everything. And it's a very unusual feeling, because the side effect of that is that you now are less interested in anything outside of you bringing you joy. It's coming from within you. That's what you want. And so then imagine, like our students, certain people, their oxytocin levels go up 200 or 300 times at the end of a workshop. Now, oxytocin is the love chemical.
Yes.
So imagine having so much love for life. I mean, oxytocin levels, Lisa, normally go up when a female mammal is bonding with her offspring, or in the beginning stages of a relationship, and there's intimacy. The oxytocin creates monogamy and bonding and stuff. And my colleagues that look at my research, they say, why are you measuring oxytocin in your workshops? I mean, that's normally, in the honeymoon stage of a relationship. What are you guys doing there? And I say, I want our students to fall in love with their future. So then when oxytocin levels go up 200 times, imagine feeling so much love, you wouldn't want to trade this feeling for anyone or anything.
It's exactly what's happening right here, right now. And for anyone watching this video, they can easily tune into this field of coherence and love.
Well, of course, I have to remind them of everything they're about to do and why we're doing it, a lot of information. If I can get a group of people together and I can give them sound scientific information, and science is the contemporary language of mysticism. Science is what demystifies the mystical. The moment you talk religion or culture or tradition, you're going to divide an audience, because someone's going to switch off. But when you use science, science creates that kind of unification. So every time you learn something new, you know this, you've seen the videos, you make new connections in your brain, right? So if I'm combining quantum physics with neuroscience, neuroendocrinology, psychoneuroimmunology, epigenetics, whatever, and I'm putting it together in a model for them to understand, they're learning that information. Well, if learning is making new connections, remembering is maintaining them. So if I say to them, turn the person next to you and explain what I just said, if they can't explain it, it's not wired in their brain. So between the two people, they start building a model of understanding, right? And they start to I don't want to hear about your past or any other theories, just repeat what I said. So as they begin to fire and wire those circuits, they're installing the neurological hardware in their brain in preparation for an experience. And the more they understand what they're doing and why, the how gets easier. So then if I can set up the conditions in the environment and give them the proper instruction, the people that get their behaviors to match their intentions and their actions equal to their thoughts, they're going to have some type of new experience or transformation. So then the transformation then that we've measured over the years, gives me more information to teach transformation the next time, right?
Yes.
So now we just got it down to a little bit more of a science. So that first day, look, I've looked at enough brain scans in real time, and I know this now, that when you analyze your life within some disturbing emotion, you're going to make your brain worse, because you're thinking in the past. When you get that person beyond their analytical mind and beyond those emotions, they're free. They'll have the answer because they're outside the box. They're free to see it from a different perspective.